I'm well, thanks. How are you, Nathan?
Good, very good.
Yeah,
Yes, how was your day?
it was good so far. Quite
Yeah,
tiring because of work, but yeah, nah, we grinding. It was
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah, no, that's
yours?
good. No, mine was good.
Yeah,
Mine was good.
awesome.
Yeah. How would you describe yourself if you had to quickly describe yourself?
Describe myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say I'm a very curious person. I'd say that. I enjoy reading. I enjoy learning. I believe life it's a everyday learning thing. You know, you learn a new thing every single day. So I think that's what makes me a curious person. I think those two are kind of linked.
Yeah.
I like to. I would say that I'm ongoing, not really too much. I'm very indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, indoors, and I like my space. I enjoy music very much. I'm also quite reserved in a way as well, but yeah, I think that's the best way I can describe myself right now.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is usually when you ask that question, it's a bit difficult for someone to know how to
Yeah,
answer.
to answer. Yeah. It's easier when you ask someone to describe you because they understand you better than you understand yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, so now you have to think, okay, which avenue do I take? What I do is work. Most of the time when people ask, like, describe yourself, people will quickly go to what they do for work,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
But you kind of gave a holistical description of yourself.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so music, I think ever since we were sort of kids, right? We
yeah.
used to play
Yeah, we did.
jam
Yeah,
and everything, yeah. And
yeah.
obviously that's, I think, one passion that you sort of taken on up until this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the main things, because especially when you're trying to gain information on a specific thing, I think books, obviously, is how people learn books or whatever form of information, but especially if it's from someone specific that gives you that journey, because most of the time, information that actually makes a lot of sense is someone that actually went through the stuff,
Yeah, through it, yeah,
and
I
explains
agree.
it to you, basically. Yeah, so your journey as a founder, because you sort of taken your passion to a different level,
Yeah.
where you created a school, a music school.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to actually start a school? What inspired you to take your passion into something? And how was that journey of, finding how? Because there's a lot of avenues you could have went, like a singer.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, what was the thought process there?
Yeah, that's a very easy question to answer, and it was not an easy journey, I'll tell you, because we are living in such a society where you don't want to. There are certain things that you prefer to be identified as, and this is now everyone wants to be corporate. Everybody wants to be identified as a lawyer. Nobody wants to be called a musician these days because it's like, ugh, what is that? Is it really something? Especially in the African context, But for me to get to where I got to today was not really. It wasn't easy, I would say, because. Like you said, we basically grew up together. I loved music. I was very passionate about it, but I never saw myself being in this space that I am today, like teaching and having my music school of my own, because I've always wanted to kind of like be identified as somebody else. I wanted to follow other people out there. I wanted to be corporate. Actually, I did commerce with the Regent Business School. And I wanted to go into accounting, actually, and I'm still doing it, but now it's more like it helps me in my own business now,
Yeah.
So, but to say less, it was not an easy journey. I wanted to again be identified as someone else, but then I had to come to a realization that I'm very good with music. It's something that I'm good at, It's something that I find pleasure in. Something that I find that I can sit and do for hours, And I thought to myself, hey, why don't I just try this and see if it will actually work, And by God's grace, I went into it, and in 2, 3, 4 months, it got to where it got today. So. Yeah, it wasn't an easy journey, but yeah, here we are today.
Yeah. I know, because especially, taking your passion and making it something that, people usually differentiate. Like, okay, you have your passion, which is something that's fun, which is something you like to do.
Yeah.
And then you have something more serious, like
Yeah.
they would say.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a bit hard, especially, I think, not African parents, I guess,
Yeah.
but it's a bit hard for you to just take your passion, because most of the time passion is something that's fun,
Yeah.
and the work is something that should be usually classified as being boring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're right.
because you have to do it, you need to do it.
Yeah.
But I think if you manage to take your passion into something that's actually, both your work and passion, I think that's really,
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
really
inspiring.
more fun. You don't think twice about it. You're just like, hey, I'm enjoying
Yeah.
this type of thing, and time flies. It's something. It's a little bit different from having to, like, having, how can I say, work plus passion. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does,
like you
yeah.
said,
Yeah.
two different things. You have this thing here where you're like, an employee, and then you have this where you are, you work for yourself, and it's
Yeah.
something that you love to do. And I do that too, because I still work in the mornings and then come to work.
Yeah.
But when you come here, it's more, for me, it feels like a relaxing moment type of thing, So I think that's where the difference is. And it's really something I enjoy doing at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you get to serve a lot of, because there's a lot of people that need to play music. I think I wanted to ask you, what do you think about music in terms of, are some people just born to play, or is it like language that everybody needs to learn to speak? Do you think there's some people that, my kid is a musician, or do you think that anybody can benefit from playing music?
Anybody can. Yeah, I would say anybody can benefit from. Some are already naturally talented. I can pick that up because most of the students come in 2 months, they're already doing what others are. They're taking them about a year just to catch that concept, but a student comes in 2 months, is like, getting it. So I guess that's where I kind of realized we're all different. Some are already kind of like, they have it inside of them, but it doesn't mean that that no one can learn. You have to be born with it. No, you don't have to be born with that gift or that talent. And anybody can learn the language of music.
How to play.
Yeah.
And there's this weird thing. I used to think that, especially the difference between talent and, like practicing your way to doing something. Because how much of what we are do you think is influenced by when you were a kid? Like, how much do you think your surroundings play a role into making you like certain things?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. My parents are crazy about music.
I figured, exactly.
Yeah, they are. They really are. I remember my mom would play music throughout basically the entire day. Wake up in the morning, it was music playing, and it was like that throughout the whole year. I don't think I remember once where she didn't, wake up to music, where I actually didn't wake up to music, and that's where kind of like I build up the passion for it, So I agree with you that the surrounding kind of also plays a role
Into you liking
you liking something, a specific thing.
Yeah,
true.
And you think if you as parents towards their kids, do you think it's in their best interest to sort of like nudge the kids into doing a specific thing? And especially because when the kid is young, I mean, he or she does not have as much say into what they need to choose. You would see most of the best musicians, you trace back to when they were kids, they would say, no, when I was 2, my dad bought me a piano or guitar. It's almost like you attribute your passion to your parents, basically. Yeah. What do you think parents can do to do you think they need to shape their kids, or is it something?
For sure. I admire parents that bring their kids, for music lessons, because it's something that I would wish that my parents would have done too. Again, my dad is very book orientated. He studies and stuff like that. So for him, when they picked up that I've always been very artistic, especially with drawing and stuff. I think that's where I kind of found out that I was really good with my hands, because I would draw, And my parents did see that, but they never thought about, putting me maybe in an art school or music school because they're like, nah, you need to be in your books, you know. But growing up, I realized that we're all, again, different. We're all different in so many ways, especially the little ones. And as parents, once we do pick up that gift or that passion in them, I think we should invest in it. I think it's a wonderful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. They can still study, but then don't neglect the gift in the child, or even if that child doesn't have, you try different options to see, is she or he good in music, or is she good in painting, is she good in soccer or something like that, so just to kind of like find out what they're really good at. But on my case, I would say it's a great thing to have your little ones participate in arts like music. It also just opens up a lot of things. It works with your brain. It works with your feelings. Sometimes you're just stressed, and if you just pick up a guitar, you're more calm. Music calms the soul, they say. So it's a great thing. Yes, I would say, but I don't know. It's something that's really hard to find, especially in our environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it needs to be talked about more.
Exactly.
Yeah, that there is great potential in just having a qualification in music. It's as much of a great potential as if one person has a qualification in business management or anything. Music is a study on its own. You know, and if a person can, even if a child has. For example, we do grading, music grading. So a child can be graded grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and music usually goes from grade 1 up to grade 8. That is now if you are following the basically the music standards, And once a child gets up to grade 6, grade 7, they could play for big orchestras, big major labels as well, It could take you really, really far. Yeah, I don't think people know that much information about it because they feel like music is just a hobby. I think it's just pick up the guitar, learn, and then you go. But they don't see that just by you learning the guitar, you could be all over the world.
True.
Yeah,
True.
And
I mean, I've seen a lot of, especially the culture, in certain places, it's hard for people to understand the benefits of music because usually school is good, but it's like to be sort of like a well-rounded human being, there's a lot of avenues you need to, So if you were privileged to grow up in a family that, has a faith, praise, you need a little bit of spiritual, guidance. You need a bit of, work, which is school, I guess. And you need a bit of like the social and also like the fun side of life. I think, especially when I first started playing music, it's like a whole different, it's like a language on its own that people need, because most of the time we just consume music, but we don't sort of like produce it. So it's difficult. It's once you understand, music, actually, you would see like the benefits it has to you and I think a lot of times it's like, if you start as a kid, it's almost like the best time for you to start.
That's the best time for you to start.
It's the best time for you to, because you would be surprised. It's almost like a talent that's just hiding there until when you're older, you would be like, okay, why can I do this thing that a lot of people around me cannot do? And I think you have your parents to thank, because there was this, because I was researching, kids and how they grow up and stuff like that, and obviously trying to be a future parent. I guess you're a parent already. So, because it's a bit. I mean, whenever I look at my parents, how they, because there's two sides of it. It's like if you go too extreme. You kind of move the kid a bit far from you. But if you go too liberal, you make the kid like, it's easy for them to go, off the rails. But then there was this, I think, guy trying to make an experiment from Paslov, I think is his name. So where he was trying to see how much impact does the early ages of a kid have, what can the parents do at a very early age of the children, basically. So he had 3 girls. So since they were like 2 or 1, he started learning them how to play chess. So that was his test, basically. So when the kids reached around 7, 8, they were already like world champions. You know, so when they became adults, they became like world champions in playing chess. So it's kind of like the effect the parents have on their kids at a very early stage.
Yeah.
It's like very important.
It's major. Yeah, it's very important. I have a daughter.
Yeah.
And
how is that?
It's fantastic.
Especially you went into it very young.
Yeah, I did. I think by the age of 22, and I got married. And by the age of 28, 24,
yeah.
I think, yeah, that's when 23, 24 there. I'm very terrible with numbers.
Yeah,
sorry.
Me too. I forgot my age.
Yeah, my own birthday too.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's when she came, and it's been a great journey. And I think, like you're saying, you know, that impact that you have at the beginning, at the early stage, really matters. And I had to learn that through experience, you know. And today I can sit down and say, you know what, I didn't get that opportunity, but I want her to get it, you know.
Yeah, true.
And I'm already starting to think which instrument she has to do. Of course, it's the guitar, because I teach guitar.
Definitely, she has to play everything.
Yeah, I'm not. She has to try everything, but the guitar is the main one, because the dad plays the guitar. So. But yeah, I know it's a great thing, you know, and also for her to kind of like also help her out in the same way to find her talent, her passion, herself, you know, and help her out. Because for me, I knew I love music, but I neglected it quite a lot. I tried a lot of different things. If I start telling you, I will not tell nothing.
I know, exactly.
I think I was in logistics before. I think you're maybe aware of that. It's in logistics, and then I left logistics, and then I went for accounting and finance. Left it. There was even a time where I did voiceovers. I did voiceovers as well, and then I left that. You know, just again, like I said in the beginning, you're trying to not accept what you're really good at or what you are, you know, because you want to be known as a certain person out there in society, you know.
Yeah.
Which is something that we all struggle with, you know. Sure. And until I had to kind of sit down and tell myself, you know, that let me just give in to what I'm good at, you know. And I think that's where most businesses flourish, when you kind of like do what you love, you know, and you take it from there.
Yeah. But how do you, because I think the whole idea of careers is for you to find a way that you can best serve people. You know? So it's not to find a way that you can profit yourself.
Sure.
How can you best serve people? So if you keep jumping into fields that you don't like, you know, how can you give people something you don't necessarily like?
Yeah, that's true.
So, but how do you think, because I'm sure a lot of people have passions, you know, things that they feel like it's the effortlessly drawn to it, you know. How do you take it from there to actually, you know, taking it to a point where you want to serve other people, you know? How do you basically, I think, simple term, how do you take your passion and then make it into a business? What was the first steps? Because I'm sure you thought about this quite long, you know, and then you came to a point where you tried to make it like a reality. You know? What was those first steps that you actually
steps? I think for most of it was a trial type of thing. Like, is this gonna work? I didn't go fully into it because I was afraid that it might flop, and there was a lot of gambles. You know, I was getting ready to actually. At that point, I was actually getting ready to get married. So, and I was like, okay, am I ready to start a business at this stage? You know, and well, I was a teacher by that time. I worked at a library as a librarian, and being in that position kind of also opened doors too, because you're reading stories and it's fun to play the guitar music to the kids. So I also compose. I also have written a couple of books as well, kids books, and in those books they're kind of like musical. The majority of those books are musical stories. So I think that kind of gave me that exposure. Parents would come and pick up the kids and be like, oh, okay, there's somebody that's doing music. Do you teach? You know, but like, I'll be a little bit nervous. I'll say, no, I don't really teach. But there was a time when, to answer your question, I thought, why don't I try and teach, you know? But at that time, I taught a girl. It was free of charge. I just taught her how to play. And this was really the birth of Robbins, you know, was me taking a girl who seemed to be very interested in learning. I taught her how to play, and she was invited to go play for a wedding. Yeah, and that's when she played a song by Ed Sheeran. What is this? I Found the Love, something like that. Yeah, she played it at the wedding, and people now started asking who kind of like is your teacher, you know. And for me, that was like a green light. I was like, okay, this might just work, you know. This, excuse me, this might just work. I think there's something here that I can. People became receptive to the gift, you know, to the talent, you know, to the idea of teaching music, and you know, and from there, one call became 2, 3, and I would actually do house calls by that time. I walk from house to house with my guitar on my back and go teach one student here an hour and then go teach on the other side. And from there, of course, word of mouth and testimonials from parent to parent. Then it got to a good number, and then that's when people started asking, could you have like a place where we can all just come to, because the moving became a little bit hectic on my side too, and they could kind of like pick up, you know, like and yeah, it was like, I think at that was the point where I kind of like realized that, hey, I can take this gift and turn it into something. I can turn this passion that I have into something, because I picked up that people were receptive to the idea of it, you know. And I think for most businesses, it should always be like that. I figured out one thing I've learned in this journey is, don't be afraid to do something for free, because it pays off big time. Yeah, I think we all just want the money quickly, you know. Sure. But how can I say, building relationship is even more stronger than having a quick buck, you know, quick money in your account, you know. And I think that's one thing that got me really far, is because of the idea of it's more, there's more to it than just money, you know. It's about building relationships, it's about talking, communicating, asking questions, you know. And I would ask questions too, you know. I would say, what do you guys think about maybe a different music school or learning violin? Would you like to learn violin one day? And I kind of like started asking around, you know, to different clients or just friends around, and they were like, that's a great idea, you know, I would love to learn violin, I would love to learn drums. That's when I kind of like figured out that, wait, there's actually a market for it, not only for the little ones, but even older folks would love to learn how to play an instrument, you know. So that's when, it all just began. I think that for me, that was kind of like where I realized that I can actually do something with. I don't know if I answered your question.
You definitely did. Definitely did. Yeah, it's like experimentation. It's weird. It's almost like most of the stories of you know, people that end up, you know, owning something like a business or something. It's usually kind of like the same. Because especially, I think in most stuff in life, there's like a process to it. You know, and a lot of the times you try and skip one phase. And like you said, you shouldn't like focus on the money first. The money sort of like comes when people recognize the value that you give off to them. You know, and then obviously you have your time. You can't split yourself into 10 people. You know, so obviously you need to. Money sort of like a metaphor for the service you offer. You know, so that's basically, if you're not offering any service, if you're not at the capacity, at the level that it would be beneficial to people, I don't think you should be in the position to charge them. You know? And it's like there's the thing of the process thing. It's like you said, you started experimenting it. It was just something that came naturally to you. You know, you were there as a teacher, but then you sort of like started injecting your passion to them, and then which turned out to be something good. It's almost like the story I heard of, you know, when a bird is kind of growing from the egg, you know, it looks like it's struggling, that baby struggling. If you go and try and help it, you would actually kill it. You know, so you should let it come out of the egg itself. You know, so if you try and like, no, you're growing, you're at the phase, let's say phase 1, you try and speed it up to like phase 10, you know, you might kill the whole thing. Like,
that's right.
Like you mentioned, like relationships between then and now, it's gonna be broken, and your whole thing just doesn't work. Yeah, but little tiny steps you take to it. Like I think I could hear like patience and focusing on helping
of it.
people
Yeah.
first, relationships,
Yeah.
and eventually the side effects of that is it turns out to be a business.
Yeah, sure. You're right. No, it takes a lot of patience for
It
sure.
does.
A lot of patience and prayer too.
Prayer, especially.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't want to take the credit for myself. I always say if it wasn't for God, I don't think I would have gotten this far. Really, you know, it was a lot of prayer. Really, a lot of it, because you want this, but your path is taking it this way, you know, like I don't know if that makes sense. This is what you want. You want to be a finance guy. You want to be a guru. You want to be a finance guru, or you want to be a lawyer, you know. But then your whole everything else is taking you a different direction. I don't know if that makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
So I think for me it was a lot of prayer, a lot of, especially in seeking help from God, to kind of like lead me to where my strength lies, type of thing, you know. Where am I really good at? Because I don't think I was going to be able to identify that myself, you know.
Yeah.
And it was only through that many doors opened that kind of like led me to where I am today. You know, it's a story on its own. That's it's for another day, but but yeah, it was a lot of prayer, and thanks to God, we're here today, and of course we're not major yet, but yeah, we're in a good place right now. I have to say, and we look forward to more bigger numbers next year, and good things to come.
No, true. No, God likes growth, you know, like even the way he built the earth, it's like phase 1, phase 2,
Yeah,
phase 3,
yeah, that's true.
up until he rested on the seventh day.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's kind of like the pattern we're trying to follow, you know, even if we at stage 2, stage 3, but you in that thing that you're moving, you're not staying at one
Yeah,
place.
you're not staying there. Yeah, you're growing. That's very true.
Yeah.
Right there.
Were there any challenges you can point out throughout this whole journey?
Oh, a lot. A lot.
Yeah, those are always
a lot. I think one of the major ones was working with people. Well, of course, when your business starts to grow, you want to introduce new instruments, you want to then put experts in place, you know, and me being young and having to sometimes hire older people that can tell that, okay, he's a bit new into this, so they can spot the loopholes in your business and try to take advantage of it. I really struggled with that a lot. I think that was one of the major challenges I had. It was a time as well when I believe some people knew where the center was, and they kind of came like as clients, and we lost equipments as well.
Really?
Yeah, there was a time like that too. So our classrooms my center kind of like became a target. So there were times we would close the windows, come back, find the window open and some holes in between the fences because they were like, you know, trying to. So I think, but the major one was really working with people. It's not an easy thing, you know, especially when you are new into business, and these are people that already come with some level of knowledge which is a little bit greater than yours. They want to kind of like take advantage of the little things that you're trying to do. And I had to let go of a few people, and in the process, I had to learn some few things the hard way, and I'm still learning, doesn't stop. But I think that's one of the major challenges I've been having so far. Really.
I mean, I have one question on people, especially when you're starting off. You know, you need people with different skills to help you out. Yeah. But now, you need to recompense these people in some way. You know, if you don't have the money first, you know, like how do you make their time worth it? You know, you don't just want to say, no, come help me out. You know, and
of course you got to pay them, right?
Or something. What was How did you figure that out?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, before I hired them, I already had a good foundation of students from my side. So those students would actually pay me, and the money would go to my pockets, of course. But then when and I didn't introduce how can I say 2 or 3 instruments at the same time. I kind of like started out with the guitar, and after that I introduced the piano. I play the piano as well, so I started teaching on the piano as well. So income was coming through the guitar and the piano, you know. So, excuse me, when I hired someone, of course, there was already kind of like a good foundation. So I think the best thing is you should have at least a good foundation that will be able to take care of the people that you have, you know. And if you take care of the people that you have, they'll take good care of you too. Yeah, so that's how it works. So I think, yeah, the foundation was somehow already stable, that I could hire someone. And then after that, I could hire then someone else, and then yeah, till we are here. We are a group of 4, including myself. We are 5, and each one of them has a specific role to play in different areas of music. So yeah, I think the foundation. I think that's the answer. The foundation was already somehow stable on my side. Yeah, I had to put a lot of work.
Nah, I can imagine.
So, yeah. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, before I let you tell a little bit about the problem, like what it does and everything, is there something that you would want to
Excuse me.
give as an advice to someone that's trying to pursue something similar, trying to pursue their passion, or something advice you would give to your kid, like, or your younger self a few years back?
Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to experiment things, good things, not bad things, of course. But if you're trying to go into business, there's always fear, and that's one thing I've experienced. There's a fear of failure, and if I had to give myself advice, I would tell myself, don't be afraid, go ahead, go try, and also do it in prayer. I believe we all have that sense of Christianity in us. We all know that God does exist, and God does answer prayers. Pray about it and seek for His guidance, and He will take you through. And also, be zealous. Ask questions. Go to people out there that have made it and try to find out how did they get there. There's this guy I follow. He usually asks, "What do you do for a living?" I don't know if you know him, on social media. And he inspires me because that's all he does for a living. He just asks big, giant people out there, what do you do for a living? And today he's really now a top dog just by asking a question, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
So I think from that, what I took out from that is that you shouldn't be afraid to ask. Go to people that have made it out there and sit down with them and ask, how did they get there? And the older people always have great advice, And I teach, but I have a mentor, and he helps me when I have questions. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try. There will be failures. There will be times when you will feel like quitting.
Always.
Yeah, but just keep on pushing. There will be a day where your breakthrough will come. So yeah, that's one of the major things I would say.
Nice. I like that. Where can people find Robin?
Robin's is in Southern Industry, opposite Ferreira's Garden. By the traffic lights, you turn to your left side by a school called Rosewood Academy. Yeah, it's easy. We are also on Google, so you can just type Robin's Private Music Center, and you easily find us.
So you guys have guitar, violin, piano, drums, singing.
Vocal. Yeah, we have dance as well.
The whole thing.
Yeah, dance as well. We have music theory. Yeah, and what you just mentioned. Yeah.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Oh, good. Thanks for taking the time.
No, for sure. Thank you for having me. It's good.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good.